Welcome to the World Series of Board Gaming. My name is Chris George.
I'm Zach Groombridge.
And today we are taking a look at the 2022 final, the ring final for Dune Imperium.
It's so incredibly exciting. I love this board game.
Yeah.
I've played it recently.
Yeah.
I'm full of excitement and anticipation. The stakes are high. The game is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the players are going to have a blast, and I hope you do too.
Yeah, so let's go right away to the table and let's meet our players.
All right.
And I think our players are going to introduce themselves right now.
Okay.
June.
June.
I definitely won't mess that up.
In seat 1, or what's usually seat 4 in the bottom left,
I like the color.
we have Junjun and we have Shadow in purple, who's talking right now. And then we have Ron in the top right. And then we have Gray in the bottom right. And so both Shadow and Gray are no strangers to a final table.
That's probably why I think every
Shadow was in the Gaia Project finale. And then Gray was in the Splendor finale.
I remember Gray. He did a very good job in that game.
He did, and if you want to see if he won or not, you better go check that one out
It's
after
an
this.
excellent commentary too.
Yeah, the commentary team, I hear, is quite top
Oh,
notch.
Euler, was one of the people that are here.
Yeah.
You know, he's like the Hall of Famer guy.
Yeah.
He was at my wedding, right? So like we're just.
Oh, okay.
All right, cool.
They're talking about another competitor, Randy Bueller, who made a couple final tables as well.
So, like,
You'll see him in the brass Birmingham final. And one other final. I can't quite remember which one.
Just so you now know me very well.
I gotcha.
I believe right now the players, are they choosing their own starting houses?
Yeah, they've gotten a choice.
Yeah, I can't care.
Oh,
Like,
these are the
I
player
honestly
aids, I'm
think, you know, all these
guessing?
people-
The player aids are on the back of the starting houses, and we see Shadow just going for a random choice. Shadow's so confident that he doesn't need to pick his favorite class. He has drawn
I
Paul
would say,
Atreides.
like, if I don't win, it is all of my decisions. That is how it works, right? So,
Wow, I have more respect.
And we see the players drafting in reverse turn order, I believe.
Duke Leto Atreides going to Junjun.
And then we have Gray playing Harkonnen and Ron playing Helena.
Yeah, the different factions in Dune Imperium are interesting. They don't give a huge mechanical difference to the player,
I think our chances
but they
of winning have
still
greatly
give
increased,
that little
everyone.
tweak to the gameplay that keeps things interesting.
I'll win every single battle.
Them talking already about the battles being incredibly important in Dune Imperium, and we see every player starting with 3 troops in their garrison, which they can move in or out to participate in the various battles and conflicts. You'll see the board is sort of already set up. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Dune Imperium and who may not have seen the grand final of the World Series of Board Game, because Dune Imperium was drawn randomly for that one, you'll see
Thank you.
no, see, like I wasn't gonna go here. You don't go there.
they're already talking about where they don't want to block each other off, and some lighthearted negotiation happening around the table, which is
What are
great
the
to
mulligan
see.
rules in this? I don't know what they are.
That's my dad. You take it.
I'm already talking about not enjoying that first hand. So Dune Imperium, for those of you who don't know, is a deck building game and a worker placement. You'll start with a hand of 10 cards. Well, you start with a deck of 10 cards, a hand of 5.
Aggressive.
Ooh, okay.
Wow.
So every round of Dune Imperium will end in a battle, and that battle will involve giving rewards to the first, second, and third place winners of that battle. And in this very first battle of the game, we have a victory point on the line. Dune Imperium is a very tight racing game in a lot of ways.
That's true.
You're racing for 10 points.
And in fact, 9 in a 4-player game, as you start, you can see all of our players in the bottom right corner of the board starting on that 1 point. You can't see that it says 4P on it, indicating 4 players, but you will see that when the players presumably get points throughout the game. Hopefully, we see all players move off of that starting spot.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of jockeying. A lot of the late game battle cards tend to have a lot of points on the line. And so I think we're going to see a little bit of a division between players prepping for this battle and saving up perhaps for those later game things. But there is a point on the line now.
And we see Junjun starting out with a bang, heading to the Fremen area, the hardy warriors, and paying a water to get 2 additional garrison and moving almost all of her full stack, committing almost her full stack.
And you trash all cards required. I can turn this
It's
over
gonna be
now.
a long game.
Very appropriate.
That's what be at 11. Okay.
I am Paul, and hold on. Before I Paul, I'm gonna look. What? I don't care. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and Paul, and I will.
So Paul Atreides' ability is he may look at the top card of his deck at any time.
On the spot.
He's just having a little fun with it right now, but that does give you a lot of abilities to plan your future turns.
That's true, and see if you should draw a card or not, if that will help you get to that 9 buying power.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. I did not play Paul in the previous round because after playing Paul, I will always look at the top of my deck, and it would be cheating on any other guy.
Oh, that's true. Smart.
Shadow explaining his strategy. Now he's finally played Paul.
Let's see.
It seems like a fun table already.
Yeah, I love when people are having a good fun. We'll see how that changes perhaps as the game gets more competitive.
Something I've noticed with these games is they start out laughing, and then when it gets in the sort of the last quarter of the game, it's dead silence as people plan their moves and try to get that efficiency. We see 2 people already going to get influence with the Fremen,
I
and
don't believe that that's
Ron
legal.
committing
Thank you.
3
No problem.
warriors.
Where the finals tables?
That's a good thing to point out, Chris. So you can see along the left side of the board here, there's 4 different factions: the Fremen, the Bene Gesserit, the Spacing Guild, and I believe it is the Emperor. And you're going to be moving up those influence tracks as you take those actions towards the left side. When you there's I believe 2 points per different faction you can acquire over there.
Non-binding agreement.
It's not going to make a big difference early, but towards the later end of the game, your position on those tracks will mean a lot.
Yoink.
Yep.
Yoink.
All right, it's my turn. I have a card.
Taking back a choice there?
No, the player's just talking about the judge was saying, well, listen, actually, it's not scored as you put things in, it's only scored at the end. And everyone around the table is saying, I don't really care. And then Junjun saying,
It's true. It's a suggestion, not a
no,
hard rule. That is
I'm not really that into it. Mainly, she was just saying,
I am your ambassador
because,
for the Emperor and Spacing Guilds. If you place
you can
that,
because you can forget to play and you can forget to move, and it's just easier to calculate at the end once you've revealed as well and score those additional swords on your cards.
Dolari.
I think they are space bugs.
Dolores. This game takes a lot less intense than King's Splendor too, which is nice.
And then I will get 1 spice, and then I will pay it to use my ring.
In a shocking turn of events.
So a core mechanic of Dune Imperium is to play a card and then place a meeple, worker place around the board. And cards that you don't place, you'll be able to play at the end of your turn to purchase cards from the store or to take other actions.
I hate my cards. I seriously hate my cards.
Shadow does not like his cards.
This will get trashed.
And so he's immediately trashing, and you can see that cheeky play of looking at the top of his deck. He knows one card that he's drawing.
I'm the trapper of seven.
All right. I drew 2 cards. I moved up the thing.
I will not have that at this
There you
table.
No, I have plenty of confidence. It's okay.
You seem like you do. What's my next one? Oh, we hadn't actually decided yet. We were on this.
See, it ended up not bad.
Ron choosing to take an intrigue card, our first intrigue card of the game, I believe. And these intrigue cards are very important. A new player can underestimate the power of the intrigue cards. There's either going to be plot cards in there, which can give you additional things throughout the game, or there's going to be combat cards. And these combat cards can help add to your combat score when you're competing over those victory points, as the first battle is competing right now.
I think something important to remember about the intrigue deck is it is quite large, and I don't think it's likely that the whole deck will be run through in a game. So there is going to be a number of cards that people might be worried about that might never come out of that deck.
That's true, and there's especially some end game cards as well, which can score a large number of points.
I'm gonna up here actually. I'll just take $2. And I'm paying for
We
the
can
ability.
see Gray making use of Harkonnen's ability.
It seems
He
right.
played his signet ring, and so then was able to use Harkonnen's ability, which is spend $1 to get an intrigue card.
I really like Baron Harkonnen in this game. He's a really deceptive player or character.
I will reveal before.
So Baron Harkonnen's special ability allows him to secretly move up on 2 of the influence tracks when he commits to a large battle in the desert here.
Will buy
And if he times that, if Gray times that reveal, that big battle, and then moving up those influence tracks, right, that could be a big swing in the game.
You're happy with that? Yes.
Junjun getting Duncan, you can see in the reveal phase, he'll yield some swords and some buying power. A solid 4-cost card.
Crashed.
In this game, Chris, do you think it's more valuable to
Scout. Replace
to
it.
really optimize your worker placement, or is the secret to this game to really focus on the deck building?
Nearly the same
There's
amount of
a
power.
few number of ways to go about it, right? Because those who optimize heavily into the deck building and heavily into the amount of points,
He has 4 guys to hold
you
them.
can see that the deck building aspect can really come into play, especially with Ron revealing right now as well, and showing that he had swords on his cards, and he's able to overtake Junjun's military power, and will be taking that point. So the deck building aspect is hugely important because of that reveal phase. You only have two meeples, and you can purchase a third one. But if your other cards aren't doing beneficial stuff for you,
Right?
He has one.
you know you're not going to get too
One of them
far.
is nearly as good as Opulence, and this one is
I'm
bad.
looking-
Just straight up bad. So
I'm looking up at the store here. There's a lot of cards that offer end of round military bonus.
That's true. It's an interesting spread.
Intrigue cards and stuff. So passes because they have fun and you're winning. So should take your victory
Something
point.
interesting about that.
Should get things
Something interesting about that is most of the cards have a value on the bottom that will help you purchase other cards.
2 space bucks.
But I think if anyone jumps on these military cards, they will be slowing down their deck. That will make it harder to buy cards later in the game.
Like
That's
they're
true.
bucks for
You-
each spaces,
You're
and they're from outer space.
you're making those sorts of trades, and you need to be mindful of what you purchase and where it will let you go. And what's also really interesting about that top board right now is you can see every single card that's revealed either lets you place in a blue circle space on the board or a yellow triangle space on the board. So anything below that that sort of line and on that planet's surface, so to speak. And so, depending on where people want to place, people may be wanting to place on those faction tracks, because anytime you get to the section level,
So it's totally fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of points over on the influence tracks on the left, and none of the cards in the store right now give you access to those influence tracks.
And your reconnaissance. You don't trash this card.
You're off by 1.
I think all the players here are looking at that store, trying to decide if they want any of it.
That's why.
That's why I was doing it. Like, I was trying to read the cards. They're tiny.
I
If you
don't
could
care.
cut and/or shuffle, do not care. Because, like, you know,
Playing the
you
long.
can see each player really getting just doing their upkeep.
5 excellent cards. And I'll take
And what's also something interesting that they said, and this was discussed a little bit before, we didn't add it into the commentary cut, but they were talking about the discard pile, and it's been said by the designer that the discard pile, your opponent's discard pile, is open information, but it has not yet been included in the errata or any sort of official FAQ, so it's just kind of a passing comment by the designer, and so because of that, we're operating that you cannot look at your opponent's discard pile. It's not necessarily open information, which makes a little bit more to keep track of.
That makes sense. Some of these players might have trained for this game expecting those discard piles to be secret.
And we see this battle being less significant than the other one. You're only playing for money here.
There's an interesting balance with the battles here. You might want to get involved in all of the battles in order to draw your opponents, to cause them to spend some of their men.
What's interesting about everyone's sort of opening hands and their reveals is that no one came in third in that last battle, it seems like, which means that the only person who had knives in their hand was Ron.
And did we just see?
We see somebody go jump right to the reveal phase. Maybe that was Ron.
Yeah, I think he wanted to buy that big, powerful spice worm there.
Yeah, that one is if you are allied with the Fremen, it will give you additional military power, and Ron has already made some movements on the Fremen track, so he's going for a full Fremen strategy. You'll also notice that some of the cards will have an alignment on them, and these can chain well with usually members of the same alignment. And so if you have Fremen cards or be going up on the Fremen track, you'll want to get those Fremen cards because they'll build together.
Fremen cards universally giving you military power because on Arrakis, desert power rules.
I like money.
The Worm Riders is what it's called. I'm looking at it now. Fremen. If you have 2 influence with the Fremen, you get 4 military when you reveal, or you just get 2 spice if you place it down in a various space. It's a really good card.
Both of those very good abilities.
But so Ron sacrificing
Basically his whole turn.
yeah, in order to do so.
You think it's the worst? I like surprising people with that.
I like that one. There's a few more I don't like as much.
Yep, I can go there.
If that was, yeah, I think it was Ron who took it.
So cost me 1 less.
It does.
Oh,
It's not a terrible move because, again, there are not a lot of cards that give you a lot of buying power in the store.
Now I
Sacrificing 1 turn to get a very powerful card early, good payoff, as it'll take everyone else potentially much longer to build up to those large cards.
Is it Ron who did it though? Ron looks like he's placed on the Great Flat, playing the 2 water to get spice.
Unless I have this wrong,
No,
I assume Ron is playing Helena in red.
Yeah.
He might have just taken 1 action and spent his other remaining of his hand on the purchase.
We might have been talking, I guess.
Yeah.
I hear Opulence wants me to have money for some reason.
It's a rumor.
Your Shadow talking about the Opulence card, I haven't seen that come up yet. Is he playing around trying to acquire that later in the game? Opulence is a powerful card that I believe you spend money and turn it directly into points.
That's true, yeah. 6 money for 1 point when you reveal. We can see how well these players know.
The game. From my understanding, though, there is only 1 Opulence card in the deck, and the deck's quite large.
I see what we got confused about. Ron has not yet purchased that big 6-cost card, but because of Helena's power, he can remove and replace a card when he plays his Signet Ring, and then he can reserve that and then purchase that for 1 less. So that's why Ron was able to play, but we just saw the card moving off and assumed that someone was revealing early on, which wouldn't really make sense because you lose your actions, right? And your actions are so important. You often want to use those actions effectively, and then we're seeing where Ron's going to place his 2nd meeple now.
You know what? Dune is a good game. What's that?
Oh, nothing.
Yes, I am going to
Shuffle in
reshuffle.
his hand. Dune is a very good game.
We're hardly halfway through the 2nd turn here,
Anyone have 4?
and already the decisions are quite interesting going on.
Not yet.
Ron picking up an intrigue card. Those intrigue cards, again, you cannot underestimate the importance of them, and that's why the space where Ron went is so important as well, is if you are hoarding onto influence cards and somebody goes there and you have 4 or more, they get to steal 1 from you.
There are a lot of influence card or intrigue cards that have minor immediate effects, such as moving you up on an influence track. But it can be really valuable to hold on to them and bluff your opponent that those might be actually combat cards.
Not particularly.
It can change the way people play around the entire board.
To decline my request.
Yes.
Okay, I get a guy in. I get a sacrificial lamb, and I'm going to send both of them.
Fair enough.
Okay,
But-
I am
But I'm down a dagger.
done.
So I believe Gray, playing the Baron Harkonnen, is committing 4 tokens to this battle. that will reveal his 2 secret objectives and move him up on 2 of these influence tracks when the battle occurs.
Pro, dude.
I'm not sure why he's doing that reveal so early, especially over a battle that is not as important.
It's right here.
Someone has to. I'm gonna move you up this track.
He wants to push forward quickly. And again, holding back. And these two players, we see this battle being fought. It feels like the first conflict was the place to be in. Here it's just $6, but you can use that $6 to get that extra person.
All right, I'm gonna scoop this one up.
Can I see that card? I actually don't know that card really well.
That extra worker is not necessarily as
Oh, you.
as valuable this early in the game.
So
You need a really good card to play all 3 of your workers
bought it
and
hoping
get
for a
any
better
efficiency
gesture.
out of it.
Found one.
What an absolute.
And this is a huge play by Shadow. He gets the Mission Area Protectiva, which if you have a Bene Gesserit card, in play you get to move up on a faction track, and getting those early in your deck, and he just happens to draw a Bene Gesserit that he can purchase as well, getting 2 Bene Gesserit in his deck. This can be a really good combo and can send you up those faction tracks and get you those points.
It is pretty easy to play around. If other players start grabbing the Bene Gesserit cards, it is kind of a useless card in his hand. If he can get more than 1, though, that would be quite powerful.
Yeah, it really depends on that cycle, but again, Shadow's already trashed that 1 card, so his deck is a little bit smaller than everybody else's.
All right,
Somebody's
what should we
gonna
get rid
take
of,
him.
guys?
Yeah, yeah. Can we clear? Okay. You pass to me. It is my reveal turn. I will reveal in the correct location. I've been throwing at that every round. At $5.
You have 5 excellent dollars.
5 purchasing power from Gray. You can see people not being thrilled with the cards on offer. Lots of just small choices, but opting
just
for that
Paul
middle
on a
card
stick.
because it gives him more placement opportunities.
And it also has the side benefit of denying Shadow another Bene Gesserit card.
Are you a 7? It's a good number to be at.
Oh, really nice. Not that one. That one.
Oh, you are a 7.
Real 5, right?
Thopter is a very good card out.
That's huge.
I think so, maybe a little expensive for a number of these players this early in the game.
He's got 2 left, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Legal game states hard. That's why I'm glad we have someone watching.
What are we doing this game? How are we winning? We're doing that?
Victory points.
Gray asking himself how he can win. Eyes
I'm gonna
focused
buy
on the
this
prize.
color. My liaison. Help me out
Up
later.
a silver.
And that's all my cards. I am
I
done.
think he's buying one of the...
You can see Shadow making the joke of comparing it to Dominion, one of the grandfathers of the deck building genre. There are these 3 cards you can always purchase. They're hidden a bit by Shadow and Ron's camera right now. But one costs you 2 and it gives you 2 buying power, also known as a silver in Dominion, giving you 2 purchasing
I
power.
had no dagger in hand. I have 3 dudes all surrounded at 1.
Even if you did, they are gone now.
No one to hold it.
So I have 5, but you bought all the cards at 1 5.
Yeah.
So I'll buy. Fremen camp.
Oh. Nasty card. Oh my gosh, and you have 2 and you have the recur.
Everybody around the table seeing a new Bene Gesserit card coming up.
Your deck is tiny. You never have anything.
It's very expensive, but I think they realized they don't want Shadow to have it.
Stouts that
Yeah,
are
it's a
there
pretty
for the-
huge
for the-
card.
Right.
I believe that might be the Reverend Mother.
Yeah, it's a very powerful card.
Combat?
I would like to take my $4 unless you have a card.
Gives you just 2 spice and 2 purchase
I
power
wanna take 6,
when you
but
reveal it.
You had other
But the
plans.
real power is if you play it, if you have another Bene Gesserit card in play, each opponent discards 2 cards. It is
Let's
just
make this up.
a punishing.
Cripples everybody's
Away.
entire
It's your
hand.
card now.
Oh, yes. I win it.
I'm gonna pass this and this down to you. Thank you. People should get their people back.
Blue. I'm learning.
Resetting the board for the next round.
It's true. There should be a step
On to
on there
round
that reminds
3.
yourself of color.
We'll see what combat card is turned up.
It's
The
this
setup
one
for the
right
combat
here.
cards
Right
is
here.
there's multiple options for
It's
the
not a
first
council.
combat card. I believe
It's
there's
remember
4,
my color.
and then you have 10 cards of the level 2 variety, and you put in 5 of them. So the combat rewards, you can't bank on there being specific rewards. The only thing you can bank on are the final 4 level 3
There's a funny way
combat
of saying what
cards.
he's going to do with
And
those.
all of those final combat cards offer a ton
I
of
agree
points.
with you.
I know, that's
Two
true.
each
Not everybody
to the winner.
Yeah, two of them do for sure.
Yep.
You are first player.
Three of them do.
Okay, nice.
That's where the big swing in points is going to come towards the end. And we're going to see players hopefully preparing for those final conflicts, putting
That card's staying
cubes
up
in their barracks,
Possibly allowed to look at the bottom.
holding something back for those big final pushes.
We see Shadow remembering to take advantage of Paul's ability. The other abilities on the board, Helena can always go in any green or blue space. It doesn't matter who's there. She can occupy that sort of same space. Harkonnen, as we talked about, are those 2 faction tracks, which
He doesn't look like he is revealed. I assumed that he would have to reveal them when he played those 4 troops, but maybe I don't understand.
Don't worry, that's not a slot to
he might get to choose.
Yeah, it doesn't say may reveal on the card, but that might be a FAQ or something. An FAQ.
Or could it be when he's purchasing the troops as well, if he gets 4 of them. And then moving on to Atreides, sending an agent to a green space will cost you $1 less. So we see Shadow sitting on a huge mountain of coins there, as well as Gray. We could see people going right up to get their 3rd meeple, or to put things down that gets them those permanent points, as we see Yellow has already done.
I think we might see another card reserved here by Helena Ron in the top right.
Here.
If I was him, I'd be reserving the Benny
I was
Gesserit,
confused. I'm like, that's 2 spice, right? Okay.
Reverend Mother card.
Yeah.
No troops again.
We'll see.
That signet ring ability.
Yeah.
He has to reserve that Reverend Mother. It's just way too powerful to leave up there.
Even if he has no intent in using it, he has to deny it to Shadow or to any player, because it could swing the game for anybody who receives that. You must beware the Gom Jabbar, Chris.
And we see Gray go, that's why he wanted to win that battle. It gave him the money he needed, the $8 to purchase that 3rd meeple, giving him another action.
Feel very period and
Right.
yeah.
That 3rd meeple this early in the game, it's a toss-up, because he might not have the cards purchased from the store to really make use of it.
But you don't need it, right? Like you don't need to use your 3rd meeple. It's just nice having it there if you want to use another space on the board. And the space on the board feels so powerful that you kind of just have to. I like getting it out personally, just because it gives you those options, and I think the spaces on the board, generally being able to use your card for the thing that the placement bonus that it gives you, feels better than holding on to give you that extra 1 purchasing power. I don't mind slowing down a bit, especially when you have Helena around the table, who's going to be reserving all the good cards anyway. Junjun
Getting into
moving
that
in,
battle.
getting into the battle. We see the battle. It will reward you with 1 point and what looks to be a little banner, so you can get a placement bonus anytime somebody goes at a specific spot, either in Carthag, Arakeen, or the Imperial Basin, which are currently all 3 occupied, so you see their value.
Shadow getting in on this battle in the middle here.
And we can see the importance of the battles by how quickly everyone has committed everything to them.
Yeah. I kind of would have expected a little bit more holding back, preparing for those late game battles, but we're seeing people go all in.
And that's the thing too, is I don't mind coming in third in a battle. If I just commit one troop, you know, I'm not worried about coming in third. You still get that little bump. Third and second for limping in one at a time and forcing the other people to overcommit, and always getting that second bonus.
And with 3 players having intrigue cards in their hand, you can place one soldier into that desert and bluff that you will take it.
Yeah.
Right? You can force other people to overcommit. But these people going all in with their soldiers, they sort of don't give themselves any maneuvering room.
Yeah.
Yeah, 200 to 300 people, but all in one room. Really, really stiff competition. It's great. It's a lot of fun. It's just a weekend. That's in
Annapolis, Maryland.
yeah, Maryland. Yeah, WBC is like a week and a half, and HeroQuest is like 3 or 4 days.
Feel that, man.
We hear Shadow talking about his previous tournament experience.
You have 6?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, because you took a bear. I forgot about that. Alrighty. We are off to the races.
I know. I was like,
We see Ron really pursuing that military strategy,
That's the best I've ever seen someone take that.
spending 6 spice and getting 5 troops and 2 water. That is a pretty huge play.
I was watching him build towards that. I wasn't sure if that's what he was going to spend a spice on.
Now choosing if he's going to commit troops to the battle or not. Is this worth taking first place?
Water is a really interesting resource in this game. It can be a little hard to acquire, but it does give you access to a lot of the more lucrative spice harvesting places on the board.
And we see Ron push 4 in,
oh, yeah.
making sure he is doubling the
No
strength.
discard pile. Don't want to trash one of those. I guess you're coming down.
We see the limping in from Shadow and Junjun may just result in some water for them, which, again, isn't bad, as the 2nd and 3rd place rewards for this battle are
I
water.
started going that direction. I was like, don't dare.
You need a full space.
Do need a folds.
Gray getting himself a fold space. This is a card that goes into your deck that allows you to play anywhere, and that makes sense with him having just picked up that 3rd meeple. He wants to have flexibility as to where he can place on the board and which faction tracks he can start to be in competition for, especially with the Harkonnen's bonus of being able to just shoot up the tracks when nobody's noticing.
And I'm just noticing it now. It looks like Junjun has already taken a seat on the council. That's going to give her a permanent 2 income in the purchasing phase.
Harvest any spice because in 2 packs.
It's not to be overlooked. She could buy above what her cards would normally allow her to do.
But it all depends on if there are any desirable cards in that top market. We see the 2 scouts on the left providing the same thing. They're only cost 1. Anyone could have purchased them, but I think people are afraid of purchasing these smaller cards and then opening up better ones for their opponents.
It's a bit of a trick because those cards do not allow you to play on the influence tracks on the left.
You went here.
And there are a lot of
Family
points over
roast.
there.
All right, so
Surprise!
I'll play my ring and go here.
Shadow making a reference to another popular game, Agricola, showing his experience in the board gaming hobby.
So not tempted. Reveal for 1 sword. I'm at 9.
Ron revealing.
Oh, this.
Ron wanting these points from the battle.
She's trash.
Oh,
You're welcome. Nobody else doing it.
Disagree. Some of us wanted to
Shadow.
her in their hand.
Yeah.
And onto the table.
Devastated that he was not able to pick up the Reverend Mother. That would have been, at this early stage in the game, that would have been devastating for the other 3 around the table. It was
And
Ron's-
Ron was able to purchase it, correct?
No, Ron reserved it with his ability, and then he was not able to purchase it, so it went into the discard pile.
It's probably safer for everyone around the board. I believe there is only 1 Reverend Mother card in the game.
I think that's correct. I've been looking through, and I don't see a second one. There's only 1 Reverend Mother, and she's scary.
So I would have let you put it on. Oh, just a, okay, yeah.
The other one, I
Right.
could do it on top if I did
If you
the
paid the
expensive
spice.
part, but I didn't want to. Didn't sound like fun. Now that would have been there. The older mistake.
No one currently at 2 influence in the Spacing Guild, so that Smuggler's Thopter also not working for that. And a big purchase. by Junjun. She purchases a power play, which will allow her to trash that and go up 2 spots on whatever faction track she goes on instead of 1. And that's a pretty powerful card. It costs 5, but it's also the benefit that it's a one-time use and it stays out of your deck, keeping your deck thin.
It is a more expensive card as well, and she's allowed to purchase it because she did make that commitment and grab that council seat early.
And what's interesting too, now we look at the top run, we've got it filled with Spacing Guild bonuses. If anybody wanted to pivot to the Spacing Guild, we have 2 scouts, which are regular, and then we have the Spice Smugglers and 2 Spice Smugglers Thopters.
But then again, I don't think there hasn't been a lot of purchasing from the store this game. I don't know if people quite have the purchase power to commit to some of these cards.
I don't think it's the purchasing power. I think they don't like the cards.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't fit with their current plan, and they don't want to. Because remember, Scout only costs 1. Everybody's got 1.
Cute.
With that placement, the Shadow just got 1 from being on the board, heading to the Hall of Oratory. He gets that troop, and he chooses not to move in because he knows he's not going to win this conflict, so preferring to stay for later. Now, another strategy too is you can see players try to get the cards that give you lots of power and lots of buying
I
power.
have in my deck with a dagger on it, and it's in play, so there's no telling what I might be at.
We see Shadow giving some friendly advice to his competition.
This might be a little bit of a bluff, though. He's looking at his influence cards, is he not? Or his intrigue cards.
Reveal. 4.
Or are those his actual hand? That might be his actual hand.
These are good.
Gray reveals 4.
We're good.
With that folded space in his hand, he could easily make use of that. And being able to draw 2, that would be a good combo.
It's my buy
That card's
turn.
super good.
That card is super good.
Especially in your deck. Feels good.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if I'm buying her. Are you done?
I am done. Oh,
Alright.
I need to pass the cards.
So I'm gonna reveal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 1 is 9.
Oh,
If we can find my card. Yep, there it is.
Are we seeing the first Spice Must Flow?
Early play.
And this is a victory point for opulence.
Oh.
Oh,
So
he,
go ahead and give me a-
have
He has opulence. He purchased that early on.
And like gene manipulation is a super good card in this deck if we plan on going long. If I can keep up the money train, which I can, the game can end much sooner. But man, gene manipulation is hard not to take. So my plan
We see
have
Shadow.
to be derailed.
talking through his turn. I think this might be a little bit of an intimidation play, threatening to end the game quickly.
No, I think Shadow is the type of player that I am, in which he needs to say all of his thoughts out loud so that he can sort them out. I am the same. He's saying, listen, do I go this way? Do I go the other way? Because with 9 buying power, he could also purchase another point right now.
And,
Or he can go for Gene Manipulation, which is another Benny Gesserit card, which would help with his faction
am gonna be at
track
4 strength.
push.
I didn't realize that he had grabbed opulence already. That's a very powerful card.
Water unless something crazy happens. And what does that mean for me? Absolutely nothing. Great. I have 2 excellent cards. Gene manipulation is so ridiculous. And we are on turn 3.
Tell me, what does gene manipulation do for us, Chris?
Gene Manipulation, I actually had it in that game that we played last together, Zach. You get to trash a card, and if you have another Benny Gesserit in play, you can get 2 Spice. So just being able, I had 2 of those in my deck, and was able to kind of chain them together, trash my whole deck, and just get oodles and oodles of Spice, which you can then use to go to the Spacing Guild, where you spend 6 Spice and get 5 troops and 2 water, or at the Emperor, where you spend 4 Spice and get 2 troops, 5 money, and an influence card, and really just abuse those 2 spaces and be really dominant in the conflicts.
I've seen a lot of good cards. This deck is too big. You know what? Points are really hard in this game. I'm gonna take a Spice Must Flow.
Alrighty.
And opting not to take the Gene Manipulation, before the card was flipped over, he decided to take the Spice Must Flow, and moved himself into first place with that 2-point turn.
That's tough. Spice Must Flow is a good card. It gives you points, but it is going to clog up his deck a bit.
It is. Anytime you play it, you get 2 spice, though. 1 spice when you reveal, but it has no placement bonus, so you're just getting a spice every time you reveal.
And if he trashes that card out of his deck, he will lose the
He
point.
loses the point, correct.
So he's just committed himself to a slower
I did. Yeah.
Slower
I had
hand.
Great.
or deck.
A slower hand, but committing to hopefully having a thinner deck if he can, to try to just abuse that opulence and get those points as quickly as possible. Shadow pushing the tempo of the game.
And she's a friend, so.
This is a bit of a race, and if everyone else is hanging back to build their decks and collect resources, you can afford to do so. But if someone starts to run for those 10 points, it sort of forces you to do so as well.
But I know you played
We can.
the other one.
I am sure. I mean, I'm fine having this card in my hand, but I am positive I played this card. I would never.
I agree. In the first cycle, you went.
So
I
you
went-
are 1, 2, 3. So
Yeah,
you should have.
you absolutely used it in
So
your
we-
first cycle.
And then I just draw one.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, guys.
that's alright. If you could cut, shuffle, deal.
Some rule clarification happening on the
Well, yeah, no, that
ground,
card's
making
really
sure
good.
that we draw the right cards.
You know, it doesn't have.
Yeah, I
any
think he
monster.
started to draw his next hand too early.
I was like,
And
no,
wasn't
that can't
sure
be
if the
right.
card in his hand was one he actually had to play.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
And we see the combat was resolved. Onto the next combat card. Again, a point if you win, and then second and third get some spice as a little compensation. Second place getting a water and a spice, and third place just getting a spice. That's
June-
not one you want to be third in.
No. Jun does not have a lot of points on the board here right now.
But her deck is really good. I think she's added some cards to her deck, like Duncan Idaho is a really great, consistent card.
And something you need to watch out for is she is playing Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. If she commits...
No, Jun is
right,
playing
she is
Atreides.
Atreides. Never mind.
But every time she uses her signet ring, she can spend 1 spice and gain
If you were me.
a faction point on a place where she is not leading.
Oh, it's not that.
So she's able to turn that into a faction bump. Just objectively better than Torvald, the character Torvald, who isn't in the game, but when you go to that seat of the High Council where Junjun is, she would have gotten to move up on a faction track, but that would have been it.
Sorry. Fam. God, that's so bad.
And we are in round 4, so that means Gray is going to start us off. Playing the signet ring. Does he have the dollar to spend? He's going to sell his spice, get a bunch of money, and then use one of those money, presumably using Harkonnen's ability to get those all-important intrigue cards.
The signet rings are very interesting. At the beginning of the game, they're very powerful, but the value that they give you starts to drop off as better cards filter into people's decks.
I am done.
I just spied there. Looked like Gray picked up a plot card, not a combat card. Not playing it right away, which means he might wanting to
How much did you sell? 2 spice?
posture for the
Oh, and
combat
5
here.
because ring.
Well, I think a lot of the plot cards, too, you don't want to reveal your hand immediately, especially if it's a faction bump or a point bump. You want to save those cards for the sneak attack so that players get complacent, they feel like they have enough time to complete what they want to do, and they don't recognize the speed at which you're potentially going to end the game.
Jun getting 4 troops here.
For only $3 because of her Atreides ability.
That's really good. That's going to make her a threat
I'm
for
also
this
gonna take
battle.
$5 just at a point instead of a card. Boop. Point, please.
I'm curious whether Jun's going to send her second worker into the desert or into the Fremen camps in order to get those troops into the battle, or whether she'll go somewhere completely different.
And we can see Shadow playing that Opulence card to put his worker in that 2-coin spot, but Opulence netting him $3. Basically, Opulence translates to if you play it twice in a row, the third time, and you don't use your money, the third time you can use that money for that point. Shadow trying to push the tempo of this game,
We're falling
and
behind.
we see Ron responding.
Two troops.
Shadow and Ron both at 4 points right now. Junjun and Gray have not gotten any points yet.
Yeah.
All in for any non-binding agreements people want to make.
Junjun has set herself up on the intrigue track, though. She's just one movement on any of the tracks away from getting a point,
Dagger
Except for Benny Gesserit.
except for Benning Gesserit.
to the High Council.
So she is not that far off behind. She might be hoping to be overlooked here.
And we see Gray locking down those 2 permanent ability spots. He now has his 3rd worker, and he has a seat on the High Council,
This is the one.
giving him that permanent 2 buying power. We might see players pushing for that High Council seat in order to get the Spice Must Flow cards. Especially the tempo this game is being pushed.
Yeah, Gray is the only one with his 3rd worker right now, am I right?
That's I believe, correct.
Yeah, that could make a very big difference. So I would not mark him too far down, even though he still only has the 1 point.
Yeah, being able to spend that $13 he's collected, he's really investing in his future, and you want to do those things early on because it gives you, again, those permanent bonuses throughout the game.
Yeah, when your back's to the wall later in the game, you don't want to be spending a turn collecting resources when you really need to be nabbing points.
And we see Ron with his last turn. I just want to point out that he did move up to the 2nd space on the Fremen track, which now means that 1 card he purchased earlier will give him 4 battle points every time he reveals it, which the other players should feel a bit scared of.
Junjun spending a fold space card, allowing her to go anywhere on the board. She is going to Carthag. That'll give her an intrigue card and some more troops and the ability to push them into the battle.
She desperately wanted to go there to get those troops in, I guess.
Yep, not overcommitting though. I'm liking this, holding something in reserve, which is not something we've seen so far.
It's a bit of a dangerous situation. Maybe she knows that
I'm going out. I'm revealing.
Ron's
2, 3, 4. I want
big Fremen card.
Which one was it?
that was
We see Shadow does get his gene
This
manipulation.
hand would be
Did it
much worse
anyway.
than the other one. See, I could have went 3-5 last time. Would have been fine.
I do think Junjun has 3 intrigue cards though.
Playing all your actions. Is
She's holding on to a lot of potential to affect the battle.
That's true. So she's probably not that worried.
You know, this is where I'd like to look at people's discard pile, but I won't do it.
Calling out that FAQ you were talking about earlier.
Dune the Desert Planet.
Shadow showing nothing but a barren wasteland in his.
It's real.
One less dagger, or no, it's not dagger. One less. You know what I mean?
Yep. That was the right. I thought I revealed a worm, but that was, you know, if I drew a card. So.
What I land on reconnaissance over. I have 2 influence. So good. Cube.
Ron now also being able to take benefit of this bonus.
Water. I was looking at gold. This one. Cube, thank you. Before I drew it. Water.
Getting in with that Fremen influence, allowing you to go on that spot on the board where no one else can currently go.
We know one of our cards, but we're gonna reshuffle for another. Whee! Chaos.
Not committing to the battle though.
Two.
He has no interest in fighting these big
One.
armies from Ron and Junjun.
What's in that box? Hopefully not that.
Gray putting some purple into his barracks.
You should draw another Seek Allies, though. Oh, you definitely drew Seek Allies because you said you were in search of friends.
Oh yeah. We had a whole
We had
conversation
a
about
conversation
Seeking
about Seeking
Allies.
Allies.
Just going back to confirm that Gray's drawing pattern was in the correct order.
This is it?
Yep.
This is the one?
remembering something around the table. It's worth pointing out that these players have been playing Dune Imperium for a long time today. They have all had to win matches to get here.
Not the one, but it's like not the one, you know?
Gray not getting what he was hoping for.
Or you draw.
I will.
I'm sure some of these players were also practicing Dune Imperium in their own spare time leading up to this competition. They know this game.
I'm sure they may have played it once or twice before this competition, Zach. I'd say that's a fairly decent assumption. That when you're playing for, you know, title of World Series of Board Gaming Dune 2022 champion and a seat in the semifinals. Junjun revealing her
A little
hand,
bit better than 8. I'm not gonna lie.
By one.
Yeah.
getting her to 8.
Water hacks.
You've revealed? Or,
And
yeah, you should say.
Revealing Duncan Idaho, that's what's giving her that extra 2 bump. Who gives her a water and 2 swords.
Know what you can't buy? The card I did. Thinker. That card needed to be in my pocket.
I wish I could buy that card.
I'm aware.
Is it?
What's that?
It's being dumb.
I think I buy this one.
And you're good?
We see Junjun take the other
Thopter.
Smuggler's Thopter,
Oh, it's much better. But I
not
can't-
letting Gray take 2.
So you're done with your turn? I will take that and pass it along. To you. I have one job.
Junjun also only 1 away from making good of that card.
That is best for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Tying the battle here. And if there is a tie at the end of this battle, they will be sharing second place, correct?
Yes.
Cards and
Buy
stay
it, so
tied.
just buy it.
No one will. Someone will be denied that first place victory
Really?
point.
Another one from the scout, sorry.
See if anyone has some secrets in their hands.
Well, I don't believe Ron is revealed yet. He might be doing so now.
Ron is.
Oh no, he
in
did
the
reveal. That's
battle.
why we.
Yeah.
That's why we scored his potential points. But they both have influence cards. We
Mhm.
might see our first combat influence being played.
Hacks.
Oh,
This one, I guess. He's coming over here with the test command. Everyone
Using
has to
that
use
third
this
worker.
card or lose a deployed troop.
I refuse to do either.
Deployed troop.
You two are required, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes,
'cause
they
we have no
are
time.
required.
Not that it matters,
To
because
go
it's
We'll
down
go
to
down
7.
to-
And all those people were dying
They're
anyway,
gonna
but
die.
you know.
I will draw a new entry card. I'm essentially just cycling the entry. Oh, I do get a thing here, which is relevant. Not nothing.
Gray playing his intrigue card to affect the state of the game.
Okay, then it goes back to me, I'm assuming.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
For 6 scouts.
Gray going to
Another
purchase
complicated
the
character, just
Sardukar
can't see
Legion,
them, so I put 'em
which
right
lets you
over
place
here.
in the Emperor track or on a green, and it'll give you 2
Oh,
troops
what
when you
about
place,
this? Ah, I'm done.
We don't even know which
or
ones they
it
go
allows
in.
you to
We don't
have
even
sort of
know.
a late deploy.
Okay, so when you do combat now, let me copy my cards again. Starting
Quite a good card. It lets you leave your troops in the barracks until the very last moment.
And then really have a sneak attack. And that's what
Tie for a second.
Let's go.
that's what Harkonnen's
Collusion.
I thought we were gonna collude.
Well, I'm including with you next. Start there. move
Water and
around.
spice each, right?
Okay,
that
I got.
correct?
Yeah, water spice each, and then no one.
and we
gets
see
this,
no
and,
intrigue cards being
So
played, they
we
just
to
get water and
trash cards, they
spice.
don't? Is that the rule?
Yeah, right. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Wait, let's spice things up, right? 1 and 2
That's a
and 3, all of them
surprising
together.
takedown. That's not going to benefit either of them.
Spice I'm about to
No,
receive.
and they are behind in points anyway. They both really wanted that point,
You mean the 3 that
and
you're
probably
gonna
really
get
wanted to
after
trash a
these
card,
and water
make
for
those decks
the
more
same?
lean.
Yeah, that seems fair. Pass the spice. The first, yeah. I have to announce to myself that I
Resetting the
I only
board
have
here.
one. I'm like, where's my other
One
guy?
card and shuffle.
He died in front of me.
And then I need to shuffle.
It's a different deck than last game.
All right, deck.
Going into turn round 5 here. Do you have any
Round
predictions?
5.
Yeah. Do you have any predictions going into this?
Okay, we're
It feels like Shadow and Ron are quite solidly ahead here.
Well, it's been interesting too because we're seeing Ron really invest heavily in the battle strategy. We're seeing Shadow going all in on that one opulence card, trying to net out some points there.
All right, I'll work with you.
Gray saying he needs to go in the exact right order in order to do everything he wants.
I'm not sure if
I'm the only one not involved in this. You're with her. You're with.
I never said you couldn't be.
Okay.
In a 4-player game like this,
Is this Catan?
being the only
Let me
person
sell
with
you some
3
spice
meeples,
You're all colluding. It's a cooperative game.
I imagine you're quite worried that you will be blocked from all the locations you want
the
to
Dune
go.
monster. And you get to start us off. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right.
I have a lot of things to do this turn. It's actually really tough.
What's that like?
Oh.
I know your deck is just churning right now.
Sort of. I might have multiple cards in my hand that I can't play at all. Spice
a
plus
little-
flow, convincing arguments. Like,
Great part about buying spice.
We see Shadow
Yeah,
talking
what?
about the potential downsides of his strategy.
It adds up.
until I trash it.
I don't know if I want to completely believe Shadow. I think his openness is maybe a little bit more of a scheme.
Well, you're less trusting than I am, Zach. I believe him wholeheartedly. Everything he says, I believe 100% that Shadow's telling the truth.
You have to remember, Chris, on Dune, you win or you die.
Well, it seems like 3 of these players are going to die. Yeah, on to round 5. No points in the battle this time. It gives our players a chance to really reevaluate, but you do have that potential faction bump, I believe.
I go.
If I'm no, it's an influence card. My mistake.
Who's the fun?
An influence card and 3 spice if you win.
Okay.
You can see the sort of. I always find Dune to be a little bit swingy in nature in terms of when things really matter and when things like all the intrigue cards aren't the same value. All the combats are not the same value, and it's just about how you navigate those differences in value.
If it's a business of making
Yeah,
money.
really committing to one strategy, such as a combat strategy, might not pay off when you don't get the cards that really pay for that strategy.
Yeah.
You're gonna use that to go here.
Dear Lord, you guys have a lot of water. Holy
Yeah,
guys,
I think
it's
we're
a
going to see a
strong
lot
turn.
of people going for
The
Spice
people
here.
that we colluded against.
Spice has
I'm
collected
watching
on
them
those
die.
spots, and everyone's holding onto a lot of water, so...
And we see Junjun make a big spice play right here using that water.
Like you collect 5 total and then spend 2 to make it 3, right? Okay.
She's about to spend 2.
I think that will open up some interesting plays.
Right, it was 5.
You're about to start getting some points. Shit.
And it does put the threat of the Highliners dropping troops onto the board.
I think maybe we should deploy.
She's deciding how many she wants to put into the battle.
She likely can win this. She'll want to maybe put 2, I would guess. Wow,
Oh,
I
that's
was
a big
wrong.
commit.
That's a big commitment for just some spice and an intrigue card.
Did somebody buy?
Yeah, especially with the more valuable
That card certainly
combat
was
cards
reserved
coming
for
up
bought. Could have been by
with
anyone.
points on the
That could be
line.
reserved
I'm
for bought.
surprised she's throwing away so much of her military.
But is it in his discard pile? We don't know. We can't see his discard pile.
But if she does win this, she will have the spice to buy a large number of troops going forward.
And them discussing a bit about Ron's Worm Riders.
And this has been.
Junjun really wanting to win this combat. Not worth any points. She doesn't have any points on the board, but still wanting to get that spice. Maybe she has a plot card in her hand where she can trade that spice for more stuff.
This is
Shadow getting some spice.
It's a pretty far out bet on my behalf.
Instead of
But I
drawing
believe
from
there's an
the top
intrigue card that rewards you with points when you lose a certain number of troops in the battle. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe Junjun is hoping to lose
Lose 3, get the point, and win
the battle.
the battle. That would be a really nice play.
Can't see how that's gonna go wrong for you.
Well, I couldn't play any cards. Now I can.
Shadow, you want to take that water off the board?
No. Can I put it back?
No.
It's so much better for me if
That
I
was
do,
a
though.
polite demand.
Oh,
on my part.
my bad. I was gonna, but it is better for me if I do. So,
Why are you on my other table?
polite demand.
Alright, 1, 2, 3.
You
I
guys.
just spent a water for that.
What is
No
going
makers this
on?
round.
I'm
What
getting in a
respects?
grapple around, and we all just took all the wood. Don't worry, there's clay.
You guys are very rude.
No true.
Yeah, lamenting the loss of all the spikes. Everyone went right for it.
Yeah.
Be a diplomat. I'm gonna go here, raising myself for 1. I'll get a point. I'm on the board.
Gray getting on the board at that point, and also, more importantly, activating his Thopter, his smuggling Thopter.
Yeah, I think we'll see that get played.
Hold space for me.
That will give him 2 draws. It could give him a lot of purchase power. It could give him a lot of military power.
That's true. It's a good card to have.
I believe Jun also has that Thopter card. I don't know if it's in her hand right now.
We might see her building up spice again to go for that spicing guild highliner, like you were saying, but she doesn't have quite enough yet.
And then get
Just
some money.
getting some money.
And I'm gonna play this. Stand 2.
Playing a plot card to move up on an influence track, and she goes for the spacing guild as well, getting herself on the board with
And then
points.
If I have 2 influence now, I can draw 2 cards. Is that how
And now she can draw 2 cards with that Thopter.
Yeah.
A really solid play to allow her to take the benefit of that card. And just like that, with those little points, you see the gap closing, and it starts to feel a little bit less overwhelming than it did just moments before.
Gene manipulation. Let's go here.
I'm really curious if my bet about the intrigue cards Jun's holding on to is right.
I hope so. That would be a wonderful play. I want nothing but that for her intrigue cards.
And I will pass.
It feels again like that's one where you want to, where you might want to save it. You know, it can be used to, if you feel the battle not going your way, you play it and you get a point anyway.
There's also an interesting dynamic here where a lot of the spaces that allow you to put troops onto the board are also those spice spaces that have already been monopolized. Some of the remaining spaces that allow you to field troops aren't that attractive at the moment. We have bonus
Ron
cards.
playing on one of them, getting that intrigue card, and is he going to commit his troop? Does he want the spice?
Yeah,
He's
not
not
going to.
deploying. You can see that he probably doesn't have his Worm Riders in his hand as well, because he's not making a play.
Although, was it Ron that had purchased the Sardaukar?
No, that was Gray.
That was Gray. Allowing that late deployment.
We see Ron reserving the Chris knife, which it works well with Fremen. If you have a Fremen bond, which he does have some Fremen cards, he can go up more quickly on that Fremen track.
I always just see a giant megaphone. I don't understand.
They're seeing the giant megaphone of space travel. I agree completely with Shadow. It's just a megaphone. I don't see it being any other ship or anything.
Nonsense. It is a marvel
I
of
forgot
space
we were
construction there, Chris.
So
I
that's
should
on
have
me.
reminded you.
Yeah, that was.
No, we're colluding right now.
Oh, yeah, that sounds
I believe those spaces. We're not gonna take them.
For the people at home, we are not actually colluding. And if we
Shadow
are, we're bad.
Yeah, we really
emphasizing
Alright, I'm
that
gonna
they are
do-
definitely colluding. You heard it
I
here
don't know what could
first.
go wrong.
Yeah, I expect nothing less at this high-level table. Collude all you want.
Does anyone happen to have forward?
Sneak your way into victory,
I
negotiate,
Still haven't gotten one.
When I go up 1,
crawl into that winner's seat with your fingernails.
draw this card.
And we see Gray making a play on all of the faction tracks,
Very good.
getting an influence card, and now being in the lead in both Bene Gesserit and Spacing Guild.
Drawing a card here
Gets murdered. Split.
and getting rid of his fold space.
Oh, full
They're
space
actually
power.
removed.
No, they're
The
not.
freedom of
Funny story,
placement that the
anything
fold
with a
space
white
provides
label up
is
top, when trashed, goes back to the
Really
top.
wonderful.
Yeah.
very, very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone told me very wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's
People-
how I used to do it, and someone was like, that is trash, this power can run out.
Yeah, nope, it cannot.
And I told someone that in my last game. Oh, not that I even got close.
Jun's turn here.
Okay.
Like these guys certainly run out, but that's because they don't get trashed very often.
Well,
I don't think she has her third worker, so this will be her hand
I don't
reveal,
know. All I
Yep,
know
she's
is
laying it down just off camera.
For
8.
keeping us into
these two
suspense.
cards,
Daggers.
I can't hate them more. Although
Oh,
he
it's
will-
for 7, not 8. My bad.
It's for 7.
Oh.
It would be good in another situation, but right now I don't need him at all.
I don't know if you know this, but this equals 7.
Okay,
Well, it's not a
water.
bad time.
Shadow trying to convince her to purchase the entire store.
Purchase the entire row and clog up your deck. You can see these players not falling for purchasing the cards that don't work with their engine.
Strong inkling.
And really, when people aren't buying from that store, it's stopping it from cycling. It's slowing down the development of everyone's decks.
Mysteries.
Think of like this.
Yep, that card's good.
Oh, we do have a
And we
purchase.
still have
Buying
Going
the
for the
Highliner.
megaphone.
4 left.
It just helps you go up on that that spacing guild.
Trash pile. And I will buy.
The game is really slowing down here as we're entering the mid game. We're not seeing those spunky plays from the beginning.
I feel like everyone's been playing at a pretty good pace, though.
I agree.
She buys another Fremen from the
Alright.
open market,
I will reveal.
opting not for that Arrakis recruiter, which just came up, costing 2, and again letting you go into blue.
Yeah, it's a lot of card you need, huh?
Aggressive.
Yeah, Junjun is not really pushing up these influence tracks over here.
This deck needs to be smaller.
And the cards she's buying
No,
don't really
yeah,
give her a
it's
whole lot of
fair.
access to them.
I missed what the play was.
I
He
did.
just didn't buy anything with 6 money.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and against.
Well, he kind of got whatever he needs.
I do have what I need.
One card combo. Turns out it's really good.
Shadow opting with $6 to not purchase anything, 6 buying power. You see Ron making decision if he will choose to refresh the market or not.
Can't see
There's
my
something.
sister
All
pop.
right, I'll buy this guy. Oops. And I will pass the rest.
Buying the card that he reserved.
That's the Chris knife.
Where the card is.
It's going to
Oh, yeah.
gel with his Fremen cards
We throw it at
and make him a
guys.
real
It's on
mean
him.
opponent in the late game battles.
Okay, so this card changed everything.
Can you get your strength?
Yes, my strength is 2.
It's
Plus small on my daggers.
Yeah.
Still 2.
You have no entry cards as well.
That is correct. You can
I'm gonna-
very easily.
Infiltrate. Making it so I'm not blocked my next play. This is why I needed it, guys. I have a smuggler's counter. There was no triangle 6. Like, no! Okay, so I'm gonna go here, paying my water, gaining 2 spice.
We're gonna have to take a spice off that spot next time. There's 2 people there.
I'm gonna go ahead and submit my gentleman here to the center, and then I will draw 2 cards off the smuggler's counter. I draw 1 and I have to shuffle.
Yeah.
And you just bought.
We see that Thopter coming to play. Gray was able to infiltrate using a plot card, playing in his same space.
I did a fold space thing last game too. I don't usually, but it's just been kind of like happening.
Yeah.
So please don't cut my fold space.
Okay.
I would be distraught to say the least.
Good players. Look, collusion.
That'll give Gray a lot of buying power. We might see him go for Spice Must Flow because nobody seems to be happy with the market up top.
Walks by.
My bad. I didn't know you could hear it. That's on me. I'm
Flew
sorry.
right over my head and hit him.
I already reviewed.
Yeah. We have.
Is everyone revealed but me? Sorry.
Yep. Back to
Okay.
you.
I will.
Why are you trying to get rid of that card, man?
I'm gonna reveal over here because I hate putting it down there. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm gonna buy worm. Obviously.
Because Victor.
Buying that Spice Must Flow, moving very quickly in the span of, I think, 1 turn.
Strength, so I am at 3.
I trashed the dagger from my hand. No.
There's something else I need to do.
And you're seeing the power of just limping in to the battle. Gray moving into 2nd position, getting 2 Spice if he maintains that combat over Shadow, who would just get 1 Spice. Shadow having 6 spice, though. Lots of spice being in play for
I
all
refuse to
players.
play- you can
I
throw
think
away
Shadow
3
will
and get a big
probably
one.
use that spice
I am
for
passing.
money so that he
I
can
am going
opulence.
to my one
That makes
spice.
sense.
Take my 2
But he might surprise us and go for the highliners and drop a bunch of troops on the board.
Return 2.
It's better if you don't return the 2, by the way. It's so much better.
And we see Junjun
So much
having
better.
overcommitted,
Alright.
scared people away, but
Alright, so we're gonna make
unable. Did not do the play you were hoping for, Zach.
No.
And
So mined out.
go ahead and take this.
That amount of commitment for what seems to be such a small return, I don't know if that's going to come back to bite her later.
She is holding on quite a bit of spice now as well, and has earned another intrigue card.
But you see, she was
I
at
literally took their
13
arms and I
power
killed them.
compared to
I don't know what
Big
that
overcommit.
did
compared to
dagger.
Gray's 3. Would have been nice if she could have kept 2
Let's see if we
or
can't
3
join
in there.
Card and then the combat token.
First we'll rotate.
Go ahead.
And a new card.
Going at round 6, everyone's resetting.
Everyone good? Ready to see it?
Let's see what this is.
Ooh.
And that's a big one.
Sorry, not spicy. Spicy.
Winning that will push them up on the, I think, all of the tracks.
Yeah. That's when that one is. If you win this one, you get to go up 1 on every faction track, which is huge. I can only imagine Junjun might wish she was holding a
That's actually
few
true. I don't know what I'm like,
more
like,
troops in her
give me a spice.
garrison.
What am I doing?
Then again,
Goddamn
looking at the board,
collusion. It's what we
no one
need.
has really been saving troops here,
I get to start this mess.
which I think is a little surprising.
All right, sounds good.
You're up.
Shadow starting us off. Will he go immediately to sell his spice, or will he take more contested action?
I don't think he's at a risk of anyone else taking the sell spice action in front of him.
Yep, they've separated. That's why I haven't started yet. I've been waiting.
Yeah, that's sorry.
You see the players passing around that white card again, just to make sure that you've officially ended your turn. Some tables are more lax about it than others, but it really comes into play when you need to say, hey, my turn wasn't done. And I can say that because we have these sort of standards and practices in place.
That card is so dumb.
It's an interesting play. He's not going for anything very impressive.
He played, I believe,
That's true.
Just getting 2 money, but moving up on the Emperor's
I
track.
but he said he got 5 money, so
But you're right.
I assume he might have played Opulence for that, which would not make sense to me if he had Opulence in his hand, so he must have played another card.
I know he didn't have any intrigue cards, so he didn't play those for money.
Over to Ron, who's thinking now. Seeing his combat has slowed. He has 3 water.
There's not a lot of spice on the board.
What's this? 2 points?
Choose 2.
He does have a lot of Fremen cards, so I don't think he has a lot of options on the intrigue tracks over here. He might spend his water and just go in for some draw at the research station. That's going to be my bet for his turn.
Go to Worm Riders.
Oh.
The research
Yep.
station.
Like how he plays his Worm Riders, he chooses to not hold it into his hand. He plays it just for 2 spice,
Then I will get 2 spice from this card.
and he gets those 3 cards, giving him potential a lot of buying power. Starting to maybe invest in hoping to get a Spice Must Flow.
You got to remember, he's also got the Fremen cards that combo together. Things like the Chris Knife.
Mm-hmm.
He has played that that Sandworm card for the spice, but because he's played it, it will combo with other cards, giving him.
That's true. If he has the Fremen Bond in his hand and it manages to draw it, he can move up on that Fremen track and get closer to getting that Fremen Alliance token, which will boost the Worm Riders even more if he's able to pull that off.
Very bad. Not even mediocre, it's just bad. Because of you.
I don't know what I did.
You took the T space.
Yeah.
Here we have the Sardaukar Legion
Cars Legion.
coming out for Gray.
Go up here.
Sure.
Going up just to the Hall of Oratory, which gets him 1 troop.
So we really need,
And one purchase power.
One purchase power, obviously going for more Spice Must Flow. You can see all the players transitioning into not purchasing cards. I think everyone feels fairly content to leave the market as it is and just play with their current deck setup.
Yeah, they don't want to risk giving someone else a powerful card here, especially when they all see a path to victory with the cards they have. I think Gray's just going to hold on to these troops in his barracks, use them for a future turn when there's perhaps some points on the line.
Well, also, perhaps he's less interested in the influence because he has the Harkonnen power and could be saving up to deploy them 4 at a time. Although, to have a bump of 4 influence and then potentially the other 2 with Harkonnen, that could be a big swing. This could prove to be a really huge turn for Gray if he decides to commit for it.
I am looking at the influence track. Even a bump of 2 influence anywhere is not going to put him into new points. He's at the bottom of the Fremen track. He's in the middle of the Bene Gesserit track and of the Spacing Guild track.
No, he'll get if he were to bump up, he would get onto the Emperor and the Fremen, because Gray's blue, I believe.
I think I should.
Yeah,
And then if he happened to have chosen as Harkonnen, Bene Gesserit, and Spacing Guild,
that would be another 2
could
points.
push him into the alliance. So this could be a 4-point turn for Gray if he's predicted which places he wants to move up. Oh, but a huge move by Junjun, getting that Spacing Guild alliance token.
Yeah, that will push her up.
That is a big move, and that might disrupt the play we were just talking about that Gray potentially had.
That gets her troops on the board as well. I love this play.
Power played into it. That's why she was able to move up 2. I believe that's what she did.
I mean, why not?
And now she's choosing to put it. She puts them all in again. Junjun committing over and over, just troops upon troops. And maybe that's why she doesn't care about how many she puts in, because she knows she's just going to have a fistful more where that came from.
I would have loved it if she was holding back even just a few troops for those later combats, where points are definitely, absolutely on the line.
Well, we can see the difference between her and Gray and their different strategies. And that's why Gray didn't commit those troops. Maybe because he knows there's a lot of conflict-happy people around the table and knows he might have to choose his conflicts wisely, especially when we're leading into the 3rd age coming up next round, and there's a 75% chance that there could be 2 points on the line for that.
Spending $2.
Shadow is going to delay here, spending $2 to get the Mentat, which is a worker that basically just sort of delays your turn.
And you can see the state of the board, you can see what other people are doing. You get to draw a card and get the Mentat, so you've lost nothing by doing so and can help sort of cycle your deck a little bit more, which is important for Shadow when he wants to get that opulence going.
Yeah,
that deck cycle is significant.
He has those Spice Must Flow cards stuck in his deck, slowing things down. I think he needs the draw.
We see Ron moving into the lead now, going up on that Spacing Guild track.
Trash a card. Trash a Dune.
It's a very close game, but there can be some pretty big swings depending upon what cards people are holding in their hand, especially as we head into those sort of 3rd age cards where the conflicts can net you 2 points.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a whole lot of intrigue cards actually be played. I think Junjun has played 2 or 3 of them, but everyone else is still holding on to them.
Yeah, Gray needing to play 1 to use that spot that he needed.
Mm-hmm.
Gray playing a Signet Ring now.
Yeah, we're going to see a...
Deciding, does he want more intrigue or does he want to draw from his deck? That's the calculation. We'll see if he pushes his troops in. I doubt he will, because I don't think he can compete with Junjun. Unless he's got some
He's going to get
some intrigue shenanigans.
He's going to get 2 intrigue cards here, Chris. One from his Signet Ring as Baron Harkonnen, and one
No,
from
he's
the
changed his
replacement.
mind. He heard you talking, Zach.
I shouldn't
so-
speak so loudly.
Good guy. I will send him.
He's probably noticing that if he had done that, he would have been at risk
Suspend
of
all.
someone stealing his intrigue cards at the Bene Gesserit location.
And
I saw a hint of red there. Definitely a combat card. Gray been saving up all game, potentially these combat cards. Hopefully he doesn't have more than 4, being mindful of that so nobody can steal it from him. And Ron quietly in the lead. Ron just moving along at his own pace and just grabbing points on the faction track.
Mm-hmm.
And in his combats. This feels very close right now. Just based around what people have in their hands. It's just if their engines can come off quicker than the other people. And if you can capitalize on those worker placement spots.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness Junjun doesn't commit that extra troop. She's
Top
learned
tier.
her lesson.
It's S tier.
We can see a glimpse of Junjun's intrigue cards. It looks like 2 plot cards, 1 combat card. One of the plot cards allowing her to move up on an influence track, but it looked like it was a spacing guild. So she might be tempting people to try to take the spacing guild from her, only to play that.
That would be clever. Oh,
I take it back.
Protecting you from-
she's going to play it right away.
She's going to play it right away to make sure nobody swoops in with a 3-point bump.
Sure. So.
Which could be in danger.
Ring play.
He's going to trash a card to draw 2 cards.
Trashing his own ring.
Yeah, I'll take a big
He says he does not need his signet ring anymore, which is pretty huge for Atreides
Have a 2 on the
because
bottom? Get the hell
his
out of my
ring...
deck.
Lets him draw a card. I think what Shadow's doing here is he's got a weaker deck, but he has the spice and the money in the bank. He's just going to try to buy points.
Yeah, he needs to
And-
buy points both with his money and with his cards.
And he's just going to hope that he doesn't slow down before the other players catch him.
That's exactly it. He's been wanting to push the tempo all game. It's made it to round 5, though, and he is only at 5 points.
6, 7?
Like a game
No,
of
5.
is
5.
take one of the-
Maybe round 6. Round 6, you're right. Heading into round 7, which is the beginning of the 3rd age. Or the 3rd conflict cards.
I do have 2 swords, so 2 swords, 2 4.
That's not what it is.
What am I doing? Wow, yeah, no, as soon as you put it down there, your strength goes back to 0, so I don't know what the plan is.
I'm playing Cold Space.
What time is it?
It's not
2 in the morning?
yet. No.
Ron feeling the day.
Depends, are you from Australia? Then yes.
No one has 4 entry cards, but
Nope.
Gray going and taking another intrigue card. Moving up on that Bene Gesserit track. Trying to get that alliance token.
the time, a legit one. Oh, okay. It's like, ugh.
Oh, God, I hope not. Like, what?
I go to bed at 11, guys.
This is gonna get trashed. I
We
do
just
draw,
have to
I do
pause
draw
and
a
wait
card
till
off of
tomorrow.
it, so I do draw this. And I went up already, so that is. I need to do something before anyone goes haywire. I need to look at the cards. Sorry.
I wish we could see the hands of cards that these people were looking at.
I really don't want to do this now, but like, I got a lot of cards in my hand. I don't want to do it. I'm going to gain a point.
Whoa.
Gray just paying his spice with an intrigue card.
It's bad for
Holding
my
on to
game,
that, he
and I
heard him
object
say,
anyway.
I really don't want to do this right now, but he was worried that that would be stolen from his hand.
You know what? I believe that's fair.
And I've stolen that card from people's hands
Proudly
before as
accept
well.
That
If
is
you
brutal.
don't spend it quickly.
5 and I will not buy anything.
Now we have a 3-way tie for first.
It's game of chicken.
Junjun's hanging in the back, but I don't think she's. I think she's set up for some big things here.
She will be winning this conflict again. We thought Ron was winning the conflicts, but Ron's been winning the conflicts that give you points and been kind of taking a pass on all the other ones.
I gotta go
Mm.
to the spice.
I think this has the potential to give Junjun a 3-point swing that will put her in the lead if
That's
she
true.
wins.
That's true. She'll go up to the number 2 on all of the tracks, and she will secure the Spacing Guild, making sure nobody can take that alliance token from her.
Done.
Oh, wait. I'm at 10.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, finger off the piece, sorry.
Okay. Everyone's good? Everyone's done?
I don't have any. No,
I am
Double checking
I am
if
not
there were
playing
any additional
entire
military
games, so I'm
power.
going to do so in like 2 ways.
That's a smart thing
I
not
will
to do.
pass.
Pass. Okay,
See,
combat.
wait. Oh.
Oh, you're passing cards.
Oh.
I'm passing cards as well.
Passing
No.
trick,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
And you're obviously winning.
I was passing
Unless
combat,
you want to do
yes,
a retreat.
When you win, oh, she could retreat. Yeah.
Oh.
Can I retreat space?
The Zach play.
2 instead.
Oh.
You're tied. I wonder what card you have in hand.
It's unknowable. Unknowable.
Thanks for stuff. Card. Figure it out.
But I have to this week.
You don't have to do it. It's up to. Oh, you're just saying. What?
Deciding if she retreats any, making sure she still wins the conflict. And then also the retreat opens the door for somebody else to play an additional card.
Yeah, if she passes here, the
She
battle's
wins.
over and she wins.
Yeah.
But if she plays a card, everyone else has an opportunity to play a card.
Yeah, it's a very sensible pass to not open the door for other intrigue plays. Because she needs to win this and now soar into the lead
The first money I have had all game.
with that 3-point swing. So she's moving up 1. You see her moving 2.
And I get one.
Now tying.
That's the stack.
Only moving up 2
Oh no,
spots?
she chooses 2. She chooses
Choose
2
two.
and doesn't move up 1 on each.
Killing 100 people.
That's our mistake.
I'm aware.
Space.
I'm aware.
But still moves in tied and then is probably planning to play somewhere in the Bene Gesserit in order to get that 3rd point. Everyone now tied at that 5-point bar. Only 5 points remaining.
Okay.
No points.
Wow, and this is a big draw because it does extend that game. Nobody has a chance to get those 2 points. We know that there will be 2 points moving forward, and players can plan on that. But also, Gray might be a little disappointed with having the most troops in his garrison. He might have been hoping for a 2-pointer right here. This might be a detrimental pull for Gray.
I think we can expect Shadow's going to buy a point with Opulence this turn. I think we can expect Ron's going to grab some of these spice. Or try to cash in the spice for money? I'm not sure.
Well, Ron could still go to that 6 spice area on the Spacing Guild,
Yes, he was
get some troops ready
get
for the
some
next
troops
turn.
and some water. He does still have a lot of water, which he can then use for drawing power. That's the sort of flow that you can do, drawing cards and committing troops to the battle.
right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is gonna be a good turn.
Still, the atmosphere feels really light around the table. Everyone is competitive, and yet everybody is in it. And it's nice to see the atmosphere still feeling not tense at all in this game of constant conflict.
The players might not be tense. I'm pretty tense right now. We have a 4-way tie halfway up the point track, halfway through the game.
That's true. And we see the Worm Riders come down. He can play it either in a blue spot or a triangle. And he is selling his spice, maybe to block Shadow.
There, and then I get 2 spice.
Yeah.
Look, free
Getting that 2 spice back, just turning that over and blocking Shadow. That is pretty huge because we know Shadow needs that money for his opulence play.
These 2
There's
spice?
still 2 places on the board Shadow I think can go to get that money he needs
Okay.
for that purchase this turn.
I'm the only person with a 3rd worker? That's crazy. Okay.
But if the secure contract
I'm
or
gonna
the
do that playing, then do
wealth
something
space are covered, I think he might be scuppered this round. We'll see.
We see Gray announcing that he still is the only player with 3 workers, and at this point, it doesn't look like anyone else is interested in getting any more.
Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting aspect of this game. In a lot of worker placement games, that extra worker
is almost a guarantee. It's almost something you want every time.
Mm-hmm. And if you're the first to get it, or most first to take advantage of it, it can be the winning play in a lot of worker placement games, but not here.
And I get my guys.
We see Gray making his first move on that Emperor track,
What was that?
I just noticed that.
Oh yeah, no.
trying
I
to
haven't
get
been
in
able to play
contention.
for a long time. I made a decision earlier that was not going to happen.
and you see him gathering his troops ready for battle, but maybe not this battle. Certainly not this battle.
Finally get a stamp of waters.
He would get to go up. The winner of this battle, though, would get to go up twice on the same influence track, which in certain situations could be very important.
Draw 3 cards.
For example, if Shadow was to get it, not that Shadow is interested in conflict, he's got his own opulent strategy going. But if he was to play it and win on the Bene Gesserit and go up on the Bene Gesserit track, he then eclipses Gray's potential point that Gray's been working towards in that faction.
Yeah, why not? Silver's got to fight.
Shunjin saying, why not? There's some good rewards to be earned by just limping in, and you also know that Shadow probably won't be, so it's a fairly safe 1-troop commitment.
Mm-hmm. I really like this. It also says to everybody else around the table, you're going to have to put in more than 1
Yeah.
if you want to beat me. If you want to at least be in contention here.
Although, just as saying that, Shadow goes and gets some troops. He's getting 4 cubes. I take it all back. Shadow might be...
What spot on the board did he just go to?
He went up top with Conspire.
You're right.
And so he played a card that got him some troops, and then he got 2 troops from going there, and the 5 money, which is the most important for him. And, importantly, it moves him up on that Emperor track. Not only does it get him money for opulence, it gets him up on that Emperor track.
Right.
Solved it, guys. Part of what I wanted was money. There you go.
Who needs money?
You got your strategy down. We can all tell.
Let's go get him. This late in the game, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, it's
I mean, not a
wasted
lot of people have got, like,
accidents.
people don't have a whole lot of points here.
We see Ron deciding to commit for that extra worker, I believe. That's a surprising play this late in the game.
Yeah. But if he's holding onto the cards for it, and remember he has been collecting Fremen cards, and they combo together, and he has already played the Spice, the Worm Riders.
Wanting to play more, yeah.
And the shit. Here.
I just think it's surprising that Ron didn't get his seat on the High
Because I
Council
played
instead.
Which piece?
Oh, it's yellow.
I don't know if people
I
really
moved
care
yellow
about
instead
that
of
purchase
these
power.
troops.
Nothing has been purchased from the store in a while.
Not in the longest time. That's true.
Oh, I did get a point from
But
that.
you do get that extra 2 bump if you're going for those lucrative Spice Must Flow cards.
Mm.
That's what it is. So.
Yeah, because when
I
she
for
got the
sure
2
moved
bumps,
it now. I moved yellow up 1 now. Oh no, I did move it just once because you were here.
Yes.
when she got her 2 bumps,
And-
she did score.
Because I was planning on getting a different way. Okay.
Can we still do that, or
I
is
still
that
gain
what
1
it is?
point. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that changes the math quite a bit. I was looking up there.
It's hard.
Yeah, so we see retroactively that Gray accidentally moved.
You got a point.
No, I know.
I shouldn't.
It does
brought
make my
it up.
position worse against you though.
And that's again showing that sort of sportsmanship around the table. It's that, hey, actually this
Being nice to you.
this thing was moved and it wasn't caught.
Whose turn? I did this.
Of course, the players know that if they were caught cheating on camera, we would have to hunt them down and do battle with them in the desert,
Not gained anything.
as per the laws of Dune.
And we would hold all the water.
That's easy. I'm gonna go ahead and draw the 2 cards. With
Great, again, choosing to build his forces, moving for that next card to be turned up, where he can push all of them in, win those 2 points, and flip over his secret influences.
That could be a big swing.
Less significant now, though, just based upon the tracks. It's going to be hard for him to take both the Spacing Guild and the Emperor from where he is currently. And Fremen, we just have to assume that he's holding a Fremen in his one of his hands. He's moved up 1 on the Fremen, and he'll move up the 2nd when he plays his Harkonnen power.
Yeah.
You stop killing 1,000 guys a turn.
Uh,
You can't help it. So you'll get this one and get to put 3 troops in.
yes.
I like this play from Jun, drawing 3 cards.
No, she's getting spice.
Oh,
Isn't?
I thought she just went onto the research station.
I think she did that last turn. Using that water and then committing those troops once again that she got from her card.
Cool, cool. This. I don't draw this yet, but I already know what it is. So I will go here. Take a 2nd intrigue card. Very exciting. Getting a troop.
You seem excited.
Oh my god. so
See, is
exciting.
Shadow
See,
going
this
to
is
commit?
good.
He commits 3. Only 3. He wants that 2nd place
Some
prize
variations of the word good.
with more spice and an intrigue card. He doesn't care as much about the track.
Only sitting on 3 intrigue cards. I thought for a second he had 4.
But maybe he has a lot of combat intrigue.
There's
We could see Shadow win this and then soar up on that Bene Gesserit track, which would just be horrible for Grey's chances.
Yeah.
Ron moving pretty much uncontested on the Fremen track. Likely not going to commit troops here.
I have to assume Shadow is going to do a purchase of a point using opulence.
Or he's just building up. Shadow being at 6, he needs 2 opulence purchases and 2 spice must flow purchases. And maybe he has an endgame point in his hand.
Did you spend money?
I didn't spend it. I
Oh,
just.
that's where you got the
I just
dollar.
got
Yeah,
one.
true story. Yeah, but from where? Who did you kill?
I just knifed somebody.
You're getting spice whether you like it or not, young man. You go.
Oh, thank you.
So, Flayed will not place anyone in this battle. Question mark? Draw 2.
Grey content to only have 2 troops in this battle. Clearly looking forward for where it matters with those 2 points.
Okay, I'm reloading. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll get a point.
Yellow.
Junjun getting a point, purchasing a point. You can see that additional card draw really coming into play. That's how that strategy works. She was able to draw the cards needed to purchase that big point and put her in the lead. Now it's 3 players again at 6 points, Ron at 5.
And remember, Jun, I believe, has a card that allows her to retreat from this battle. If it goes against her, she could set herself up for next turn.
That's true.
Interrupt with this one. I throw this away to draw 3 cards.
Shadow drawing 3 cards.
Big play. I think he's going to buy a Spice Must Flow for
Getting
sure.
that spice must flow.
1, 3, 4, spice. 6, 7, 8.
Did he get that opulence card?
Pick up a spice must flow and a spice.
Picking up a spice must flow and a spice, moving up 1. Shadow feels really primed to take this.
Did you draw your?
If he has the intrigue cards to turn this battle into a victory,
Oh, that's
You wanted to draw
brutal.
what? Or did I
Oh
have
my
it down?
gosh.
He could
be a-
steal that Bene Gesserit
yeah.
spot.
Oh, did he just play it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I didn't
He's
see
gonna
it.
be honey.
Yeah, how else did I get any money?
I don't know, man.
That's fair.
Okay, card.
Shadow really
Gold.
been driving the tempo of this game the entire time.
Yeah, and being very mindful of trashing cards and getting the spice must flow, but the whole thing that this getting all these Spice Must Flow cards in your deck, it does slow you down.
Yeah.
Shadow saying he has no entry cards. He's used them all, so Junjun knows that she's guaranteed that 2 bump. Where is she going to go? 2 bump. She could steal the Fremen point from Ron. Should she win? Ron been playing for that Fremen point, thinking nobody could get him, but Junjun is primed to get it. That is a Spice Must Flow for Gray as well. People buying lots of points because they do not want to cycle that market. Nobody... And
Oh.
Shadow offering, saying, hey, listen, you could purchase these 2 lovely scouts.
They're so desperate for anyone to clear up and reveal something powerful.
And it is never going to happen, which is fascinating. Players are just...
They've all just agreed as a deck-building armistice, Chris.
Yeah.
Technically, it's his
Nobody wants to add that card in their deck and slow themselves down and potentially open the door for someone else. Even Helena's Power has not been reserving these cards.
Making her work for it.
It's too much of a risk.
It's way too much of a risk.
You take your entry cards and your
Green.
take this first and see which one.
Okay. I'm gonna take this.
We see Junjun win another combat,
grab 5.
and she's for sure got to steal that Fremen Alliance.
I'm gonna go.
That has to be the play here. There she goes. Going up 1-2, stealing it right out of Ron's grasp. Putting her at 7. Ron is falling behind now at 5.
Where we're at.
Striking distance of victory for Junjun here.
And Gray and Shadow, they're all at 7. This has got to be the last conflict coming up. And we see Gray with a mountain of people just waiting to move forward and take those 2 points.
But we see Junjun with all the resources in the world, 4 intrigue cards. She's no slouch either.
Take this card.
We know Shadow is prepped to start buying points himself, though his deck is getting slower and slower.
Seems unlikely.
Ron is sitting on all of those Fremen cards as well, so he's going to be a contender in this final battle.
Heart pack.
Nobody.
I think Ron...
Nobody owns card packs.
Yeah, Ron needs to win this battle. If Ron doesn't win this battle, he's out.
That's how you get a garrison.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because the swing of having somebody else win this battle and not Ron is
it's also
way
a
too much.
2-point battle.
Yeah.
It's going to basically trigger endgame no matter who wins it,
Unless it's Ron.
unless it's Ron.
I'm so glad I did those last round. I literally cried. Not literally, but in my mind.
I'm looking.
Gray saying he's drawn a clutch card. You can feel the excitement energy coming off of him.
Gray still hasn't revealed his Harkonnen tokens.
He has not.
Is there any of these intrigue places that he could steal with a cheeky?
Well, he needs the Bene Gesserit Alliance token. That puts him at 8. If he gets the Bene Gesserit Alliance token and wins this battle, that puts him at 10. He just has to hope nobody has endgame points, and he stays above. That's the play for Gray. There he
going
goes.
in. He's
He's
going
pushing in.
I did. It was a big turn for me. I'm gonna flip
He's-
over these
he's-
two. This is less
That
fun.
is the Bene Gesserit token. He's going to take it.
He's going up on the Emperor and Bene Gesserit. Boom, moving him in. Gray's gotten to that 8-point, and right now this game is within Gray's grasp. If he wins this conflict, he will trigger the end game, and I don't think anyone can stop him. Even if they might have some intrigue card, but the only person who could really benefit from the major point intrigue cards would be Shadow, and we know Shadow doesn't have one.
Ron does have a lot of spice. He can go to that highliner spot. Oh, he can't. Gray has already.
Gray
taken
went
it.
there. That was clutch of Gray
Oh
going first.
man, this I think might be the end.
This feels like the writing on the wall. It's going to be hard for somebody to come back after this, but we don't know what Shadow has in his hand if he's able to purchase his points and potentially get some additional bonuses. There needs to be some collusion around here to stop Gray. That's what I think.
Yeah. Where'd all that table talk go, Shadow? Start pointing things out.
It's currently Junjun's play.
Yeah.
Deciding she's been the troop. She's been putting in troops left, right, and center, and that's helped her get resources, but now she's feeling the sting of having no troops with everyone else having troops in their garrison. And Gray with a mountain of troops on the board. He currently has 7 troops in the middle, putting him at 14 strength.
I believe she's also sitting on 4 intrigue cards.
And then spend two.
I'd
That's
be a
a-
little terrified of those getting stolen right now.
One
Yeah, that's a great play though by drawing those 3 cards. That's a huge. She needs to get herself a point and see if she can use those new cards to get more troops in the battle, or maybe just rely on those intrigue cards to produce that combat value that the troops do not have. But again, Gray's been holding on to some intrigue cards as well.
Yeah. And Gray vitally has that 3rd worker. He can go and block some stuff on this board.
2, 3. You should cut it. And then I will
But we see the value of these conflicts and how important the conflicts are.
add 1 point.
Junjun gets that point though in the Bene Gesserit. Plus, having that huge card draw, if she's able to get a Spice Must Flow and eke out another point, you could tie. And then it all comes down to if you're holding on to endgame points in your hand, or if somebody's been holding on to plot cards to use resources. Shadow passes the buck and takes the Mentat, wanting to cycle his deck.
He needs that opulence card. He's got to buy a thing.
He has to. Everyone focused now. They feel the end. No more talk around the table as the game truly heats up. 8 rounds in, this could be the last round.
We have a fold space coming. Trashing cards, drawing cards.
We see everyone needing to draw those perfect cards, looking for ways to cycle through their deck.
Also just going there probably for the point.
Getting a point, but not stealing intrigue cards. Presumably, if Junjun has the intrigue cards, well, you want her to use them against Gray, but Junjun and Gray are both in 8 points. If either of them could win this conflict, currently Gray seems to be the favorite, but if Junjun has some tricks up her sleeve, this could very well go another way.
I think Ron wanted that draw mostly for the trying to get his Fremen bonuses. I think he wants that. He's been using the Worm Riders as spice drop and not as military. I think he's got to use it as military.
Excellent entry card.
2. Oh, 3 actually.
3.
There's the count. Junjun has 3. That is why
Okay.
Ron didn't do that. There was no opportunity to steal.
Trash back to there. And that is it.
We'll see if Gray can eke out any more troops. That's got to be his play. Just go to Carthag or Arakeen and just get those 1 troops in.
He does. I don't know if they're in his hand there. I can barely see, but he also has Sardaukar legions. Remember, so he could late play them in his reveal step.
All other players must discard a card. You must discard a card since you don't have troops.
Oh, and a big play by Gray making... everybody's been drawing cards, and he's trying to negate that. Everyone else must discard a card. It's of their choice, but they have to discard 1, and that could severely limit their ability to purchase that ever-important Spice Must Flow.
If you played
I think Junjun was exempt because she has no troops, though.
No, it's retreat troops, destroy troops, or discard a card. So since none of them have troops, they all must discard a card.
Gotcha.
Oh, I have a trash. Oh, well, discard. Yeah.
Junjun's still making that decision on what she can get rid of. And it's important because it will affect the rest of her game.
I can see she's holding on to Duncan, Idaho there. She has the Thopter.
The Thopter would allow her to draw 2 more cards and get more. She's able to purchase a Spice Must Flow for sure.
Yeah, I think she's trying to make the decision between drawing more cards or buying that Spice Must Flow. And it's got to be... I don't know.
But 1 point doesn't do it. You need to at least tie the 2 points that Gray is going to get, or hope that you have some endgame. And that's why you see people going for those intrigue spots. Gray not needing to, he prefers to block the spot that makes people steal.
Yeah, I don't think Junjun's going to be in this battle. I think she's going to have to throw away Duncan.
Spice must go.
Oh.
Getting rid of Spice Must Flow, that makes sense. Doesn't make sense to hold on to Spice, because this likely will be the last round. And you can see what patience gets you in this game. Gray was hoarding on to those troops, the only player to not just throw them all in every time, and knew he needed to hold on to it for when it mattered, and he's setting himself up really well right now. We see Junjun again diving into her deck,
A troop and the card.
getting a troop
Is she
into
gonna
the
put that
battle.
troop into the No, not.
One more
Oh,
card,
yep. No.
She's just resolving her card and pushing those in, making a play. If Junjun could snatch this from Gray, Junjun's had a lot of combat on her side for the majority of the game, and Gray has not been involved in the combat. He's needed to save up for this point. Will it be enough?
It's a big hand of cards for Junjun there.
Maybe she could buy two. Maybe that's what she's pushing for. Try to buy two Spice Must Flow. Wouldn't that be something? Over to Shadow. We see Shadow quietly pondering, seeing where he can play, just getting some water. I guess going for that Fremen bump. If he can get to that Fremen point, that's the only other way for Shadow to potentially eke out another point.
He's holding on to so much spice and so much money. But I don't think he accelerated the game so much, but now I don't think he has time to turn that into points.
We see Ron pushing into the battle, everyone throwing everything they've got. Ron getting that additional intrigue card, which could be a lot of combat. There's still... This battle could go anyone's way, and at this point, whoever wins this battle, it feels like they're the ones taking it.
Yeah. And I'd have to say I'm leaning heavily towards Gray, but I want to believe in Junjun. I like all of the plays she's really done this
Yeah.
game.
I just can't help but think all those times that Junjun overcommitted in those battles, if she just held one back every time in preparation for this moment.
It really wouldn't have made that much of a difference before, but it would make a huge difference now.
Gray being at 16, he hasn't committed those last two troops, which is surprising. But he is revealing. Is he able to purchase a Spice Must Flow too? It doesn't look like he is.
No, he's only got 3 cards. He's got the 3 workers, so he's been using all of his cards, eh? He hasn't been able to purchase too much with what's left.
Two, I think.
No, I don't believe in his injury cards.
That's a better opportunity considering I only have what's that here up here. So I'm at 5.
Junjun's at 5. Never had Duncan Idaho in her hand.
Spice. And it should be now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I get a point.
Spice must
She's
flow.
at 11. Only can afford one Spice Must Flow. I mean, there's no world in which you can afford 18 buying power. That's just... would just be unheard of.
Over to Shadow then.
But Junjun has moved up into 9 points. She is in the lead, but it's still Gray who can jump over her if
He wins, yeah.
he wins this conflict.
I will gain a victory point.
We see Shadow. That's why he moved up on the Fremen track, moving into contention. If Shadow were able to pull out, but he only has one intrigue card.
Which matters
That
much.
might be late game points, Chris.
We can see Shadow. What track should he...
And
choosing to move up on the Fremen rather than solidify his Emperor. If Gray somehow is able to move up 2 on the Emperor, Gray could steal that point from Shadow.
water.
You have some. You don't have to.
And no.
He doesn't like them.
Oh, I don't reveal yet. So there you go.
Shadow's gone from the boisterous character at the beginning to the very soft-spoken one now. I'm not sure which to be more afraid of.
Ron making a play to get more troops in. Ron being our battle point getter.
Guys should have done those in the other order.
Oh, but he's unable to move those troops into the battle, which might be a huge blunder on Ron's part.
Yeah.
Not doing that in the other order, as he's saying. Trying to draw for that intrigue card.
Spice booster. If I had a diplomacy, but I had to go here to draw it first, and then he went there. So I was sad. I don't know. I might be able to buy a spice booster. Nobody knows. It's a 4 and a 3. I'm ready.
There is, right?
There is.
There
You have to
is.
be on the top of this track, but I didn't buy it.
Or if you're
He's already revealed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's you to you.
I reveal.
I will reveal. Reveal. Get a victory point.
Yep.
With his opulence, that, and he cannot get to Spice Must Flow.
Oh.
6 is correct.
We might see Shadow make a play for purchasing all the scouts right now, but I don't think the only thing that could help you.
No, the game's going another round.
You buy one scout, see what comes up, and maybe buy that, or do you have to?
Yeah,
buy
but
all
if he
your...
can't afford a Spice Must Flow, the only other cards that are out there are like the 8s or the 7s,
I mean, Dune
like
is
Lady
always
Jessica,
so-
who helps you move up on tracks.
I played with my buddy.
But if you don't have enough for a Spice Must Flow, you can't really make that play.
And I was at 5, and I was like, eh. Good job.
2 of those. 2, 4, 6, 8.
We'll see what sort of intrigue Ron has.
You lose a troop and I gain a troop.
I believe in you. Let's go.
Ron making a play. If Ron can win this, that is new life for Shadow.
No spice. If you need spice.
Go.
Okay. I've already passed.
Okay,
You've
I
passed?
think everybody has passed.
Okay, and then I start with playing cards. I will choose not to play any cards.
Oh.
Sensible.
He's winning, so he doesn't want to.
You don't need to.
June.
I pass.
Oh.
Can I play these again? Then I pass.
Let's try it. I'm sure you've got more, but
Ron making a play, tying him.
I get 3.
Gray then playing his card. Does Ron have anything else?
it's
I
yellow.
pass.
Oh no, we're done back here.
Could still come in
I'm
late.
surprised Jun's passing like this.
Alright.
She just doesn't have the cards. She must have all plot
actually,
cards.
Because I'm going to play correctly. I'm going to not play correctly.
You're gonna throw 3 away for a point?
He has that card. Gray has the card revealing just now that he has the card that you were hoping Junjun had.
Because I'm winning the battle. I
Yeah,
get
that's
1.
After you win the battle, you
So
do
it's
that.
1, 2 plus the 1.
You don't need to time
So
it.
he
11 points.
he is revealing and showing that he can go up on the front end, and
It's legally playable
so he was
in the game.
able to get.
It's not. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I get tiebreakers over yellow.
Well,
Who has victory points?
You have a lot of
Shadow
cards.
still in good
Tiebreakers
spirits.
is a little bit better than mine. Good game, man.
Good game.
And they're showing no one has endgame points.
Double ring, nice.
Double ring.
Thank
Congrats.
you.
Gray, having won the
Your
ring
opening
in
scared the crap out of me. I
Splendor,
was like, oh my
now
God. We're
has
all gonna
won
die.
the Dune Imperium. But what a game! You can see the scores so
Yeah, I was very
close.
unlucky, 'cause what is this one?
Beautiful game.
That's so not.
I can use
The players
it,
just discussing
but it never occurred that I
what they could have done.
Yeah.
So,
And yes, I would be able to buy the Spice Must Flow if I had that to
Bottom
start. It
of
would
my
have been at 10. Yeah.
Fourth to the bottom.
with this spice
So Shadow could have eked out another point, but Gray still had that 11th point, which would have put him over top anyone else. Shadow would have been
I had
hoping for a
2
tiebreaker at 10, and it just didn't happen.
I don't have to stay up all night learning domination.
Wow.
Wow, that was a good game.
A wonderful game. Dune Imperium is a wonderful game.
Yeah.
These were wonderful players. and
Absolutely.
This was a wonderful competition.
Yeah, wonderful final table. I agree with you, Zach. Just the way everyone managed to play and how close it was, how back and forth. Some really exciting plays, exciting blocks. A clutch block from Ron denying Shadow that Reverend Mother, which would have just decimated the whole game. You heard Gray at the end saying, "Yeah, I was really scared of your opening play," and it was a scary opening play, getting that opulence out and being able to start that engine going. and Shadow making, I think, the correct decision that it wasn't going to go long enough for his gene manipulation to come into play. I don't
think
know.
To really get the most out of that opulence card, I think Shadow would have had to not commit quite as hard to the Spice Must Flow.
Yeah.
Right? He needed his deck to be doing other things as well. Because at the end there, he just did not have enough utility in his deck.
And it was thinning and thinning his deck, but you can't thin the Spice Must Flow. I think that's a good point. But it doesn't matter how it happened, and what does matter is that Gray becomes the Dune Imperium World Series of Board Gaming 2022 champion.
So cool.
And will be back next year to defend his title playing Dune Imperium, I am sure. Because that one is still in the 16 games in 2023. So if you think you're better than these players, get your tickets.
Remember, the first step to avoiding a trap is knowing there is one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quote from Dune.
I also know Dune.
Okay.
I've definitely seen 40 minutes of the movie.
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh. Well, we're going to go watch the movie sponsored by Dune. Thank you so much for watching. And from all of us here at the World Series of Board Gaming, stay tuned to the YouTube channel and watch more of the cool games.
Game on.